Yeah, for those that
Well,
have it.
on
When's his
today's show,
birthday? When's his
welcome to the
birthday?
lads. Anees, Faheem, used to the first ever. Well, I say guest. I feel like more of a guest on my podcast. I'd like to say hashtag Just Talk. Today we're going to talk a little bit about CSM, Liverpool, how controversial VAR has become in the Premier League, along with a few, I'd say, a few funny transfers I don't agree with, as well as a little bit on how the late Orient players are probably feeling at the moment. So, Anise, how you doing? Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. A little bit tired. I've just got back in from footy, so I've had a game, an hour run out. Did a little bit better than I did on Sunday.
We'll have more on that in a minute. Faheem, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm just in the middle of the middle of the end of the transfer window, so it's pretty crazy right now. Lots of things flying about that we need to finalise and push through. So yeah, it's pretty crazy right now.
You sound very energetic to be here, as we all do.
Mate, I am very drained, but you have got my excitement up, Rob. Definitely, mate.
First of all, we're going to touch on the CSM Saturday team. They good result, 4-1 on the day. After a few funny results, I'd like to call it the Mark effect. Mark effect seems to have come in and got 100%. No disrespect, Will, but I'm giving all the credit to Mark. Big shout out to Kiefer. Got a hat trick on the weekend as well.
Yeah,
Anise,
not
you
his
was at the game, wasn't you?
yeah, not his first hat trick. Although we were debating whether it's actually a hat trick. So Chris was playing on the left wing, and it just looked like Chris's goal. He'd cut inside his man and slotted into the far corner. Didn't look like anyone was close to it. And then he got injured, Chris. So he scored after 3 minutes, injured after 5, comes off the pitch. So you're thinking, job done, got his goal, off he goes. And once Kiefer comes off the pitch, he's telling everyone he's got a hat trick. He's like, yeah, I touched Chris's on the line. It's my hat trick. And fair play to Chris, he's giving it to him because he's like, well, the boy's either got a hat trick or I've got one goal and come off after 5 minutes. But I would never have given it. I don't care if it's someone's hat trick. If it's my goal, it's my goal.
I'd be screaming for that one all the way.
What a guy.
But Faheem, what just for people that don't really understand what CSM is, what league are the Saturday team in?
So the Saturday team are in the Essex Alliance League, so they're in the senior division now. After promotion last year before, sorry. So yeah, it's a league that's been around for a while. They're really well organised, and they're going to be getting Step 7 status for the senior league, which CSM are in. The Saturdays guys are in. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. It should be good.
I've been on my notes. I've been told not to call the B team the B team, but
oh geez, there we go. How many seconds are you in, Rob?
I noticed you did play for the B team on the weekend, Anise. How did that go down?
Oh mate, it was fun. First of all, I feel like really privileged, and I did tell Grant beforehand. There's no favors being done here. I'm a member of your squad, so I'm not coming down as a chairman at all. I'm here to tell what to do with, and I bet you wish you didn't bring me on now at half time. To be fair, Boundary Estate were a good side. They played decent football. They're a division above the twos, so it was always going to be a tough game. And I came on at right back in the second half. And I swear to you, I ran forward about 40 yards twice, put in 2 lovely balls. And then I thought, you know what? I'm knackered. I cannot run back 70 yards again in this half. So I thought I'd just sit back here. And then I thought, sitting back here, I'm rested. I got beaten twice for their last 2 goals, didn't I, on my side of the pitch. So, I hold my hands up and let the boys down on that one.
I'm pretty sure Grant's probably giving you a few wise words after the game as well.
Yeah, I think he's messaged me as he talked.
There you go, speak of the devil when he show up here. But honestly, on a serious note, though, from the field of the Saturday team, I know this is our main club. We're looking to take it to the next level. How is the squad feeling? How's it looking? Are the players aware of what we are striving towards and the thoughts on the new kits and stuff like that? What's the situation?
Yeah, I don't think the players necessarily have a huge idea of the bigger picture of everything that CSM does. And I think that's a nice thing for them, because for them, they come in training on Thursday and they turn up to their matches. And that's what CSM is for them. And that's the platform we've tried to create through the foundation when we run any sort of grassroots projects. And those that don't buy into the mentality of what we would like here, they tend to leave anyway after a few weeks because they don't fit in. So actually, who we are and what we are is because of the players. And those that don't really buy into it, they end up going off and go and join in other clubs because they don't really fit in here.
Okay, cool, brilliant. I think we've for the as the season has just started, I think we've covered enough for it. My second thing will be now onto the Premier League, the interesting stuff we've all been here for. I just want to touch briefly on Everton. As Liverpool fans, how does it feel to see Everton up there flying with you?
Well, I think Faheem lived through Everton's glory years, so you better take this one.
Well, yeah, I say live through. I think I was probably about 5 or 6 the last time they were kind of up there. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a bit unfortunate for them because Liverpool are so good right now that I don't think any Liverpool fans actually bothered because at the moment the fans just love watching Liverpool play. They love what Klopp's doing. They love what the players on a match day how they're performing, like they did last night when they beat Arsenal. That first half was probably some of the best football they played for a while, to be fair. Yeah, so I don't know. Like for me, yeah, I keep an eye on what other teams are doing because of my role at CSM. But yeah, as a Liverpool fan, I'm too hyped about us winning. All you got to remember is I was probably 10 the last time we won the league. So right now I'm all about Liverpool winning the league, and I'm not really bothered what Everton are doing at all. But yeah, it's nice for them, isn't it?
I think just touching on Everton again, they are flying, they are doing well. But then I look at Chelsea's team. They was 3-0 down to West Brom at half time. I'd like to. I know, not saying Lampard's doing an awful job. Not saying he's doing a great job. Personally, I think he'll be the first to get sacked in the Premier League this year. But in the back of Ancelotti's mind, I know he was Chelsea manager. He must be looking at that squad thinking, "Core, what could have been?"
Maybe Rob, but I don't know, maybe from Ancelotti's perspective, he's done so much in his career. I mean, what he achieved is well before when I was born, and a lot of his achievements. And maybe he's just got to that point in life, you know what, I'm fed up of taking these big teams and having the stress with it. I'd like the pressure-free environment where someone trusts me because of what I've achieved in the game. And saying, go build a team, go build a project. We're going to give you a new stadium. We're going to give you a new training facility and be the guy that takes us to that top level. Because as much as I'm a Liverpool fan, but living in Liverpool myself and seeing some of the excitement around Everton's new stadium, some of the plans look insane. And if you think about what Tottenham Stadium looks like, it's really, really exciting for them to kind of put them on the map in Liverpool city centre.
As I'm just touching on, as you are from Liverpool, I just wanted to again go back to the Liverpool game itself, as we have got 2 Liverpool fans. From my point of view, it was a bit of a shaky start, and I kind of thought, I know Arteta has kind of turned this Arsenal team round a bit. And, they always say it's your second title in a row is always your hardest. So, as soon as Robertson's made that mistake and kind of spooned it into, well, in my notes, I've got spooned it away. It looked like he just tried to play it out to his midfielder. And he's, Lacazette can't believe his luck. And he's got, I wouldn't say the easiest tapping of his life, but...
He fluffed it, didn't he?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, but, as that goal goes in, did you know you'd come back into the game easy and ease? Or did you think, oh no, here we go again. Are we kind of had our best days, or?
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, I remember when I was still living in London and we were coming up to watch the tail end of the Brendan Rodgers era, and it was just take a lead and you're never convinced we're going to hold it. Now it's just, all right, we've conceded. We're still probably going to win this game. I think we're so good at just grinding teams down. With that gung-ho football we had for the first 20 minutes, it's not so much about that. We tire teams out so that we kill them off towards the end. And it's so good to watch because we look so comfortable.
Yeah. I think Anees is spot on there. I think towards the end of Brendan Rodgers' reign, it was like, if you go down in the game or you kind of get into that hour mark and we haven't broken the team down, Liverpool fans starting to get nervous. Oh, what if we get hit on the counter, or we concede late, and there's always that stress at the back of your mind. But especially in the last couple of years with Klopp's team, it's just a case of, well, all right, we've conceded now, but how quick can we get back in the game? And obviously last night they did it very, very quickly.
Faheem, I'd like to know your first impressions on Thiago, because I kind of looked at this Liverpool team at the end of the year and I thought, with the situation that's going on, I thought it would be quite hard to improve that team. But again, I've been proved wrong. I feel he is someone that can really very much keep it ticking over. But would you say he's a lot better than Fabinho in that role?
I think they bring different things to the role, really. I think Fabinho's he's kind of all action, isn't he? He's diving in with tackles and protecting that back line a little bit, and then when he does break forward, he's got a great shot on him from distance. And Thiago, he kind of just seems to string things together. He just pulls the strings. He doesn't make the old gut busting runs like Anees was making on Sunday, but
just the two of them.
Yeah, he kind of just he'll control the play, pick up the pace, slow it down when you need. He's an intelligent footballer. So I think for him, when a lot of these players came in under Klopp, like Robertson and Fabinho as well, they kind of had a few weeks before they got into that team, and they had that adjustment period. Whereas I think Thiago, well, I'm saying that he's not going to need that period, but he's just tested positive for COVID today, I think. So he's going to have a few weeks out. But
has he really? I did not. I must have missed that. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I think they said something late this afternoon. I think it came out.
Rob, add a yellow ticker on that. That's breaking news.
There you go. There's an exclusive. There you go.
How did I miss that?
But I kind of thought when I see the price tag, I thought it was an absolute snip. But I was never really too impressed with him. I think the reason being when he was at Barcelona, I just think they had Sergio Busquets there at the time, probably in his prime. He's too much of. I can imagine taking Busquets out of that team would have been theoretically impossible. And as you say, he's not gonna. The way I'm gonna say this, he's not gonna get you them fantasy football points, is he? He's not gonna get you that many assists. He's not gonna get you many goals. No. But again, I think that's probably why he's come at such a cheap price.
Yeah, I think when he was at Barca, he was very young, and I think the problem with Thiago, where he kind of sits and plays in that midfield, if you're a successful winning side and you've got a player like that can kind of sit in there and dictate the play, that's fantastic. But if you're struggling and you can't dominate games, then he's probably maybe not the first choice of type of player you'd want in there. You want someone in there that's going to win the challenges and be a bit more robust, like Busquets was at Barca when he was there, and like Fabinho is at Liverpool. But they're different type of midfielders. He's had a good quality again. Klopp. He's not gone for big numbers. He's been very choosy about the. It's not even the type of player he's bringing in. They identify the way Liverpool are doing is they identify a player, and then that's who's coming in. And if he's not coming in, then there's no second option. They don't want a second choice. They'll just reassess, look at their data again, and see what they want to do. But yeah, he's done well to bring in the three guys. Sorry, that he has brought in.
Well, Anees, from one signing who's not going to get you any fantasy football points to one you have signed and will get you some fantasy football points in Jota. What's the thoughts behind that signing?
And I love it. And I swear to you, Rob, now obviously living in Liverpool, when I'm going to the games, if Faheem can't come up, I take Zainab with me. And two of the games that we saw, so she called the Minamino signing. So we watched Salzburg play against us last year, and all the hype was around Haaland, obviously, at the time. And she sat there and was like, no, he looks amazing. We should buy a Minamino. And I agreed with her. And then suddenly we bought Minamino. And there was a game we were watching on TV when we were watching Wolves. And I swear to you, she goes, Jota presses like it's a Liverpool match. He should come and play for us. And I was like, it's spot on. He fits into a system of what Klopp expects of his players, from their actual approach to pressing, off the ball, the way they play and dribble with the ball. I think, Jota's got one of the highest statistics for dribbles per game, hasn't he? And that's valued in a team, because when you're knackered match towards the end and you've got that runner coming off to the bench that's going to run out of tired defence, massive. Maybe 45 is a big price, but I think it's a huge signing for us. Puts a bit of pressure on that front three as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, well, after the whistle, there was quite I wouldn't say controversial interview between Roy Keane and Klopp, but I think Klopp has obviously just backed his players there, and I think he's kind of played off the rivalry a bit. For me, I think Roy Keane's a bit of an idiot. He's come out and said before about wanting to punch De Gea in the face for making a mistake if he was in the changing room. Now, personally, for me, I wouldn't want that in the dressing room. But for him, I know you're a bit older than us. You'd have probably seen him week in, week out.
Just throwing that one in there.
Should he be in a gangster film? Should he be like Bricktop? Or is he actually good at football?
Roy Keane.
Yeah.
No, Keane was an outstanding midfielder. It pains me to say because he played for United, and as I was growing up, I had a massive hatred for anything United. But I mean, he was. Look, he's got a temper on him. He was known for the odd dirty tackle, and I think that overshadows a lot of his ability in games to control the game. I mean, he was a big part of why United dominated for so long. He's an outstanding midfielder, honestly. But I think as he transitioned to coaching and management, I don't know whether it's when you kind of struggle to get results, and he was such a big player and never really replicated that as a coach. Whether you then try to stay relevant or stay in the limelight in other ways by making controversial statements and stuff, I don't know. It's kind of strange with him, but it's something that's kind of followed his career, and I think it's probably overshadowed a lot of the good stuff he's done in the game, to be fair, as a player.
I don't think he was that bad of a manager. I remember him going into Sunderland when he was in the Championship, and I think they were rock bottom, and he ended up winning the league that year. I think that's correct.
Yeah, he won a lot of games. I'm not saying he's not a bad manager, but I think if you look at the kind of players that are going into big roles and able to kind of stamp the authority on that team over a long period of time, he never really did that as a coach. But yeah, like at Sunderland, he was fantastic. But at the same time, if you look at some of the other teams he took over, he didn't really replicate that as a manager anywhere else.
Do you think he's actually like this as a manager? Or do you think he's puts his arm around his players and he's actually really nice in real life?
Oh, you could never see it, could you?
No, I think he's the type of guy that is he's kind of what you see is what you get. It seems like I think I think it's too much for him to be a completely different character behind closed doors.
I love what you finished with when you said, "Oh, he's a bit sensitive, is he?" Imagine if we lost. But we don't lose. That's the beauty of it. We don't ever lose. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a mad time to be a Liverpool fan.
I think it's quite sad of him because his reputation is just known for going in and being a bit of a bully and a bit of a nutter. So from people of my age, my point of view, they probably think he's just a bit of an idiot. You know,
that's right. That's right, and that's what I'm saying to you. Like with everything that he achieved in the game as a player, and how good a player he was. You know, if you look back, you guys obviously, like you pointed out, Rob, you two are much younger than I am. But if you look back at players even before then, you know, you look at Maradona, phenomenal player, but everybody talks about the drug use and the hand of God goal. You know, things happen to overshadow your career, but I think with Roy Keane, there were so many incidents that when you guys look back and say, oh, yeah, what was he like? All you really hear about is all the bad stuff that he did. But if you look back when there were players like Ronaldo, Francesco Totti, Roberto Baggio, all these type of players that are fantastic footballers, you don't hear that. You just kind of know, okay, yeah, they were great players because they never really got involved in the kind of stuff that Roy Keane really got involved in, to be fair.
Well, from one controversial guy to another, in Jose Mourinho. I don't know if you've seen his post-match interview, but he said he went along the lines of, again, not these exact words, but I prefer not to speak.
I was waiting for him to use it. He just didn't use it. He almost did it. It's like he knows.
His words were, I'd rather give money to charity than to the FA, which I think we can all agree with because I think they have too much. But let's hit straight on the incident. Anees, what was your thoughts on the penalty?
Oh, it's harsh, ain't it? I hate this handball rule. And it's not just a handball rule, it's handball with the combination of VAR. Now, I'm not against technology in sport. I teach. Today I did classes around technology in sport, around cricket and tennis and how good that they've been in implementing technology into it. But football just seems to be a mess. They've sucked the soul out of the game, the entertainment. It takes too long. And actually, this handball rule, it seems like it's made by people who have never played the game. Right? Can you ever imagine jumping without using your hands? You know, a little bit of leverage that gets your hand up alongside someone. It's not going to suddenly come down by your side as you're midair. So what do you expect to happen? For me, handball was always meant to be intentional. Now we're saying it doesn't matter if it's intentional. Your body, if it's away from your body, it doesn't matter if it's a yard. If it's up here, it's handball. And I think it's so harsh. But I also think it's designed because more goals, more bookings, more spectacle, which ultimately football needs at the moment because there's no fans in the stadium. So you have to manufacture entertainment somehow for the masses that are watching on TV. We're already moving all the matches, so there's a game on every other hour. So let's make those games a little bit more interesting by chucking penalties and goals into the mix.
Faheem, I personally thought it was ridiculous because, he has jumped up, but, he's not even facing the ball. He was facing the other direction and it's come off. So it's not even intentional. But I'm pretty sure the rule does state that you have to be facing the ball for this to even be a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check the rule to really understand it properly. But I mean,
don't bother, it'll change next year, won't it?
yeah, probably will. At the moment, it will. Yeah, I think. Look, VAR has been controversial since it's come in. My personal opinion is, it's all right for the amount of right decisions we've had. I don't know if it's working overall that well, but by taking out the intentional handball and just saying, well, if it's handball, if it touches his hand, it's handball, you're basically trying to make it easy on a VAR decision because you're saying, well, look, we can watch it back on a video. If it's touches his hand, we're just going to discount it, disallow it completely. We're taking the kind of intention or the subjective points out of that whole subject and saying, okay, if it touches your hand, that's it. It's game over. I don't like I don't have a problem with tech. I don't think football is really geared for VAR and things like that. I think, when we talk about other sports where technology is used and where it's used really well, we're talking about slow-paced games with lots of stoppages. So, and sort of audience participation and stadium music and all that kind of stuff, which works in American football, it works in cricket, in T20, it works in all of those sports that are slower paced. But when you're talking about fast-paced adrenaline and football, it just doesn't work for me. But again, I'm quite old, so.
But one thing I will say during this argument of VAR didn't actually give the penalty. The referee has gone over to the monitor and he has looked at that. But now I think this is where it even becomes even more difficult to become a referee these days. To the fact that it's now there, black and white, and the referees know now they're probably under so much pressure. If they make a mistake, they're like, well, you looked at it about 8 times, you watched it every different angle, every different thing. Are these referees going in with their heart and thinking, no, that's not a penalty, or are they going in their head thinking, if I don't get this right, they're going to send me back down to Sunday League level? Is this could be another argument,
Yeah, it could be, Rob. But if you think about what the FA do with regards to when they think of the England team, they're trying to create superhuman athletes, basically, aren't they? So why are we not doing more to create superhuman referees that can keep up with the pace of the game as it's evolved and say, ditch the pitch side monitor, ditch VAR? Now, like I said, I'm pro technology, but it just seems like taking the human element out of a decision-making process is mainly the failure of our referees not being able to keep up with the game, perhaps.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh when you said super referee. I can't help but think Howard Webb coming out with an 8-pack about 7 foot tall and just really, really quick at pacing Mbappe. But
I'd love to see the Saturday referee that we had turn up in a cape or something.
Wow. I think with the technology, I think if it's a contentious issue still. I think it's not being implemented the way they envisioned. I think when they tested at international level, when they had the screens on the side and refs were using them, the refs were still making the decisions. I think that the frustration can be is when you're waiting, and especially on TV, like when they start messing around with the lines and all that kind of stuff, and you're thinking, what is going on here? You've got players don't know whether to celebrate goals and and referees going, you just got to look at last year's incident with Sheffield United, where they didn't have the goal line tech on.
Oh, it was the Bournemouth game. No, it was Bournemouth, wasn't it? Because they went down. They lost points.
It was Aston Villa v Sheffield United.
Was it Sheffield United?
I thought it was. I thought it was Villa United. Yeah, and they didn't have it on, and that's something that's been around for many years, and they're still not. There's still mistakes happening. So I think you have to weigh up what impact the tech has on the sport and what impact it has for the fans and the players as well, because obviously they're important. And then weigh up what you're getting out of it. Really, I think it's kind of sucking the life out of the game for me at the moment.
I think another way they could justify as well. I hate to say this because I feel like it's very Americanized, but if they on the screen, they don't have to have the faces, just the voices of, okay, I think you should go and have a look at that. Mm-hmm. And then he just talks us through what he's thinking and why he's give it. I'm not saying would make the decision okay, but you then get the kind of idea what was going through his head, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the problem is like a lot of the stadiums in the UK are very, very old, even at top flight level. Not everyone's got a White Hart Lane or the Emirates or and so the stadiums aren't even set up properly to cope with this tech. So you haven't got the big screens, no one knows what's going on. You don't have the kind of the speaker system. I mean, we've all been to games and we've heard the kind of tannoy announcements and that stuff like that. And usually you can't hear what's going on. It's terrible. So but I mean, again, again, being from my era of football, I wouldn't want to lose those historical stadiums, but they're not set up for this kind of tech to be effective, really.
If you think about what VAR was set up for, do you remember when Henry handballed it for France against Ireland? When it was blatant cheating, wasn't it? It wasn't a handball. That was just pure cheating. Yeah. And it got missed. And I thought VAR and technology was meant to be used to stop moments like that happening that was so blatantly obvious. But because of VAR and slow-mo replays, we're now changing the rules of the game to adapt to the technology rather than fitting the technology into the sport. And I think that's my biggest issue with it, because we've gone from the Henry handball to a hand just up in the air, a metre away with your back turned. That's now handball.
I think we need to remember it's called, well, I don't know what the V stands for, but it's meant to be video assistant or virtual assistant referee. It's more than likely video assistant referee, but the key word being assistant. I just feel like it's starting to dominate and take over the referee, if this makes sense.
You kind of wonder if the refs are thinking, well, if I make a mistake, VAR is going to pick it up anyway.
I'd like to draw the argument. Why do we even need linesmen now? We've got VAR.
Yeah.
Why do we need lines? Why do we need a referee?
Yeah, it's true, because you'd think it would go that way, wouldn't you? I think you've got a great point there, because if you want the right decision every step of the way, then just let the computer do it. And I don't think the media helps it as well, because if you carried on watching Klopp's interview when that Keane incident happened, Scott Minto's the presenter, isn't he? And he turned around and asked a question.
Dave Jones.
Oh, Dave Jones. Sorry, I don't know. I've got Scott Minto. I've got Spanish football. Remember Spanish football on the mind? Dave Jones. That's it. I don't even think it's Scott Minto. He looks like Scott Minto though. That's what I think. No, just me. Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't know who Scott Minto is, but we'll carry
on. Get out. Chelsea legends.
Listen, how young is Rob?
He's younger than me.
Wow.
Prefer not to speak, but please carry on.
Yeah, and even in that interview, the last few questions, they're asking Klopp about the handball. There was no incident in the Liverpool-Arsenal game relating to it, but they're starting to ask every manager. They're just throwing it down our necks. It's painful to watch sometimes. I just switch off after a game, genuinely. I can't be bothered to watch it.
Well, yeah, I think my last point on it will be, well, if we don't need fans, we don't need the referee. And you know what? Let's just get rid of the footballers. I think at Orient, it'd be a really good idea. I think I'd actually enjoy it down there if we got rid of the football. But from another VAR incident, we're going to take Fergie time and we're going to totally blow it out of proportion. A penalty be given after the whistle. I think it was the correct decision, but I just think it's mental that the whistle went. It's the correct thing to do, restart the game, yes, but I just find it absolutely mental that you can restart a game. And it being Man United, by the way, the whole meme thing of Man United getting penalties, it just blew my mind. It completely blew my mind. Faheem, as a Liverpool fan, did it just blow your mind in anger?
Yeah, I mean, I heard about it afterwards. Like I said, with this busy period, I'm catching some of the games, not all of them. So I heard about it afterwards, and I was like, well, this can't be right. Someone's got to be winding me up, because it was coming through on my WhatsApp. I was like, having a wind up. It's been a while since Fergie's been in charge. You don't do that level of Fergie time anymore. And but yeah, it's quite insane to me, to be honest. I think again, you've got to draw a line somewhere. You waiting for a stoppage to then go back and look at a decision and say, oh no, actually we made a mistake. We have to go back and put that right. And we're even now including the end of the game in that. Like, if you've blown full time, that's it.
I'm starting to get the feeling that anyone who played under Fergie has that. Does anyone remember that TV program as a kid that had to watch where you can just stop time?
Oh, Bernard's Watch. Yeah, what a great show.
We'll just place it on his hand and we'll give a penalty. But
completely wasted ability on Bernard, by the way. He did not use that watch to good use.
But yeah, again, I thought it was a penalty. Morpay's hand was just, it shouldn't have been there. He was facing the right direction.
Oh yeah. Listen, don't get me wrong.
Calls you like, tucked it away for the win. But
no, it was the right decision. And to be fair, the referee kind of handled it well, because actually, letter of the law, he's done everything that he had to correctly in a really awkward situation. It's just, I think I was at the Saturday game when it happened, so we were getting scores fed to us by the lads on the sides getting the updates, and someone just turned around and said 2-2, and we're all celebrating because everyone loves United dropping points, and then the one United fans, shut up, Man United got a penalty after the game, and then everyone's just like, what? Wait, what do you mean after the game? And when something weird happens and you think, well, that's never happened before in my life, but had to be United, didn't it?
Yeah, of course.
You wouldn't complain if it was us. You imagine CSM getting a penalty after the game because of something. You wouldn't complain, would you? You'd take it.
I personally watched this whole game. I feel quite sorry for the Brighton groundsman. I think he's going to have to repaint the goalpost after this. They hit the post and crossbar so many times. But I think Brighton looked good. I think they're playing some good footer under Potter. He done a good job in Sweden. He was at Swansea for a little while, played some good football there, and he's gone straight into the Brighton. He totally changed the philosophy of the club. And I know a Brighton fan who I work with. He was quite sceptical. He thought it was going down, but genuinely, it was at one point last season. I know it fell apart in the end. We was talking about them getting Europe. I know that's a big, strong statement, but they were playing so well at the time. I thought it was a possibility. But my next argument is, United have allowed that to happen. There's this whole talk of them spending 100 million or whatever it is on Sancho, and today they've been linked with Dembele from Barcelona for 75 million euro. Why are they not taking this money and buying the centre half they need?
There's no identity to him, is there, at the moment? If you think about what they've lost with Fergie, it wasn't just a manager, it was everything Man United was about. The club had a philosophy, they had a direction. As much as being a Liverpool fan, I didn't enjoy watching them winning everything, but it was something to admire. I can't turn around and talk ill of Fergie. The guy's a legend of the game with what he did. But who has really stepped in, not just in the managerial position, but behind the scenes? Fergie called the shots. No one's there to do that.
There's an element of no trust there, because they've had some great managers. I feel David Moyes wasn't given the time, but he's proved at Everton he was a really good manager at the time. Then Van Gaal, then Mourinho. I feel for all these managers to get it wrong, I feel like there's something else going on up in the boardroom, because Mourinho come out and said him getting second and winning the Europa League was one of his biggest ever achievements as a manager. Everyone laughed at the time, but if you take it into perspective now and where they was at the time, you've got to probably agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how things are, again, you guys are probably a bit young to remember way back when there was really no director of football. You had a manager of the club, people like Ferguson and Wenger as well at Arsenal, and these guys were, they made the decisions. If the club was going to sign a player, it wasn't going to happen without that manager's approval, and he would go out and set the targets that he wanted, and it would be down to him, and then he would then build his team around the players that he wanted. But now you've got a completely different setup at clubs. You've got recruitment departments, you've got scouting departments, you've got data analysis departments who look at just data and feed that into the scouting department, who then go and watch the player and all kinds of things like this, then you've got a director of football that will make the decision on who they're actually going to sign and how much they're going to spend, and you're forgetting that. Hang on, are you getting the manager's expecting one player to come in, and then you're kind of going down the list 2 or 3 places on your short list and getting a player that he doesn't really want, and he's not really going to fit in with what he's looking for, because sometimes your departments are not all in sync. An example of that has been United over the last few years, where they brought in players at times when you were thinking, well, you're going to strengthen somewhere else, or you're going for a different type of player, or it seems like they've got people there that just got caught up in the hype of a player, and they've just gone out to try and bring him in. So it's been quite crazy. And then you look at other clubs we go back to Liverpool right now. In the last few years, their transfer policy and the how the management team, the scouting department, the recruitment, and the director of football there, how they all work together, it seems perfectly in sync. They know exactly what's going on. Everybody seems on the same page. So it can work, but it's a very different world from one person making a decision on who's going to come in and what players they're going to buy.
I hope that's not the same Liverpool transfer committee that bid 20 million for Cotton Cole. But then I don't know who's more stupid, Liverpool for bidding it or West Ham for rejecting it. But you touched on all the data stuff and everything. I just want to move on to Pep Guardiola with the Leicester game. I was listening. I've got to give credit to another podcast for this, but I was listening to a journalist and they were saying about, we're meant to be miles away from Pep Guardiola because they're meant to be, there's stuff they see what we don't. But then I fully believe there's simple things we see that they don't. Like, why are they still playing that high line against Jamie Vardy? Even after the second penalty, they still didn't learn. They kept that high line.
I think he's one of his. I can't even describe Pep with a downfall because it just seems crazy, doesn't it? Because of what he's done in the game. But his style of management and what he wants his team demands so much. And it's a no compromise kind of approach to it. You play this way and there's no other way to play. And if you concede doing it, I, as the manager, take the fault. And, there's a lot to admire in that. But they haven't addressed the situation. Like the clumsiness of Kyle Walker for how many years in these sorts of penalty situations? How many years is he going to get away with it? There's going to be a day where he will no longer be quick and people will ask, then what does he offer? And you look at other players that have adapted their game to carry on playing and fit into, look at Fernandinho, look at David Silva in their team. They got older and older, but they just got better and better. And I just think there's too many players in City that don't fit into that category.
Go on, sorry. After you finish.
I was going to say he's got like this kind of fixed philosophy, that he's tried to take everywhere. He's always had a good coaching staff around him, people that he's worked with over time and trusted and help implement what he wants to do. But I mean, ultimately, if you're going to play a certain way, you have to get the players that fit that system. And he's at the club that can do that for him. But they keep picking players that it doesn't make sense. Defensively, you keep buying players that can play ball at the back because you want to play out from there. But defensively, they're so weak. And you're not going to outscore teams every week, as you saw in the last game. So yeah, it's like Anees said, you're not saying that Pep's not going to do it anymore, or he's on the downward trend. But he should, as a top level coach and with his coaching staff, he should be able to see where those problems are. And I think they've just completed another centre back signing,
Ruben Diaz, isn't it?
Yeah, 6-year deal. I think that's just gone through.
6-year deal. That's a big contract, ain't it? Yeah.
I'm pretty certain it's a 6-year deal. I'm pretty sure it is, and it's on a big old wage as well. And they keep spending on defenders, and they keep getting it wrong, unfortunately. So let's see how this one pans out.
FFP incoming once again.
Well,
I hate to sound very dramatic, but is the title wrapped up now? Has Liverpool won it already?
What is it? 3 games in?
I thought you were talking about CSM for a second.
On a serious note, are Liverpool going to be stopped this year?
No, depends how long Everton last, doesn't it?
Oh, that's what I was referring to. They're now called Liverpool now, aren't they? Just blue.
taking over the city. I don't know. I can't see anyone else doing it. I mean, like we're saying about Pep, when it clicks for Man City, even including Liverpool, there's probably City are the better team to watch as a neutral. But I think City are more likely to have those moments where they're going to throw away games like they did. They didn't just get beaten by Leicester; they got smashed. Like 5-2 at home is no joke, and it's great as a Liverpool fan to see that happen to a team early. But they're winners in there in that team. They're not just they haven't not won things as a unit. There's players in there that have won things, and I think they will be in a good position to kind of turn it around. So you've got to watch out for City. I'd say keep an eye on Chelsea because eventually they will click together as well. Keep an eye on them. I do think they'll kind of creep up there later on in the season. Whether that first part of the season is going to be enough for them to push for a title shout, I don't think so, but certainly top 4.
Faheem, what seems to be the problem with transfers and Jamie Vardy? I know he did reject Arsenal, but as an agent yourself, I kind of feel like, if Vardy was Brazilian or Italian, like Jamie Vardy, I kind of feel like, I think he would have probably gone on to a bigger club by now, or another club would have come in. Is it just the whole English that he's a bit chavvy and likes WKD a bit too much to not get that big move?
I think sometimes you get a chance at a move when you're doing really well. He's still doing well, but when he was linked with Arsenal, he was probably one of the most consistent strikers in the league. But yeah, listen. There's lots of different things that go into a transfer that I had no clue about until 4 years ago. I used to sit there and complain about player transfers failing and not going through, or us not going for certain players, and there's so much involved that you have to look at players at that stage of his career now, and the age that he is. How much does he want to move? How far does he want to move? What clubs are actually looking to bring him in? What top club really plays a style that suit him as well? There's a lot that goes into it. I think every player has like a time in their career when that big move is about to happen, and we've seen a couple of players that have made the transfer and it's completely gone the wrong way for them. And I think for Vardy now, I think he'll probably finish at Leicester. To be fair, I can't see.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think even as we're about to finish off here, Tottenham have beaten Chelsea on penalties in the Carabao Cup, which leads me on to my next point. My team Orient were just eliminated due to them being honest about their testing and stuff like that, which I think's complete rubbish. But I'm a bit worried about how the Orient players are going to bounce back now because, for a lot of them, it's a very big game, and it was probably one of the biggest games they're going to play in. Which then leads me on to my next question, and we'll start with Anees. Have you ever had an opportunity where you've, even as a footballer or as a coach or even in a walk of life, where something's happened and it's been unfairly taken away from you? And how did it make you feel, and how did you bounce back from it?
Jeez, Rob, way to put me on the spot here. That wasn't in the briefing sheet, was it?
Yeah, I didn't see that in the email.
Well, proves it's not scripted, eh?
Yeah, it's hard to say, really. It's I don't really think there's. I've been very privileged, and I don't forget that. Growing up, the opportunities that I had presented to me to participate in sport, whether it's from playing, whether I was coaching, now being a chairman and running a club, I've been very, very fortunate to work alongside people that I've learned a lot from, and I still continue to learn from. So I don't think there's been many of those opportunities taken away from me as such. I think maybe I applied to a university course when I first came out of my first degree and I got rejected, and it doesn't feel great, but it actually kind of just spurs you on to go find another opportunity. But Leyton Orient don't have that in this situation. They've just been dumped out of the cup for doing the honest thing. And compare that to what happened between West Ham and Hull. Didn't Hull refuse to take the test? And what if they took the test and had loads of players test positive? Would they be dumped out of the cup? So it just makes you think that some of these rules ain't in place for health reasons. They're just there in case you want to follow them, and then you get punished because of it. And it seems really unfair. All right, fans can't go to the games, but the players, what an opportunity of a lifetime to play against Spurs. And why would any club now be honest about any situation regarding coronavirus? And I think it's symptomatic of the way society has dealt with this situation in general. It's such a shame for Leyton Orient.
Faheem, I'll give you a bit more time and I'll touch on mine. I think it was actually playing under you, to be fair, and we had that semi-final.
Yeah.
Over,
we took
Bethnal
in Essex. Oh no, in Bethnal Green. I was going to say.
Yeah, this is when we was playing on the kit room, and I had a dodgy back, and we went 1-0 down, and the old excuse, my back's gone, I better come off now.
Was this the Coutinho back injury? Yeah, just for a few weeks.
Genuinely, we was 1-0 down, and my back was killing me on the sideline, and I kind of just watched us as a team. Obviously, it wasn't because of the sub, but I come off, but we just kind of deteriorated, and we didn't get to the cup final at Dagenham Redbridge. I was a bit down about that for a few days, but. I feel like the way we've all come on and come back together, that is a proper bounce back for us, to be fair.
That's a good example, Rob. You just made me think of one, actually. I was actually playing for Hamlets on a Sunday. So a lot of our CSM Sunday players played for the Saturday team. And I was captain. And I spent the whole season playing in centre midfield. To be fair, that week I'd run the London Marathon, and 5 days later we had a cup final. So my legs weren't great. But it wasn't my worst game, and for some reason I was playing alongside a centre midfielder who had been begging to play up front or in centre mid, but he'd been a centre back for the entire season. But suddenly on cup final day, I'm expected to pair up with this guy, and he wasn't great. He was not better than me in that first half of that game. I think Faheem was there, Grant was there, and the worst thing is, I told a bunch of my European mates that I was studying on my masters with to come down. So these guys have travelled in from North London, from outside of London in Kent, on a train to come to Hornchurch on a midweek night to see me get subbed at half time. I was devastated, and we lost as well. So I had to go collect bloody runners-up medals after being subbed at half time in a cup final.
Faheem, even if you want to mention a transfer or anything.
Oh, mate, I think, we look, as an agent, I think it's part and parcel. Some transfers will go through and some won't. I think probably the biggest thing that's probably affected me was probably the cancer diagnosis, which was back in 2015. But I think in all of our examples and mine as well, it was about the kind of support network you have around you and the people you have around you. Like you mentioned after that game in Bethnal Green where we lost, and then years on, we've still come back together and we're still doing things together, and that shows a strong connection, a strong bond between us. And I think when you have to deal with something, or when I had to deal with the diagnosis, I had my wife around me, who has been, even to now, when I have to go for checkup, she's with me at every appointment. That woman has not missed an appointment with me. So that having that kind of support mechanism really makes it much easier to bounce back. And I, like as Anees said, even in our family, in our household, is very, very tight knit. We're very close. And that support mechanism is good. And then to be able to fall back on our friends in football and yourself and everybody else involved at CSM. CSM started just after I got the all clear. And me and Anees had this conversation driving up to Liverpool, where I was venting some frustration. And then as we hit the M1, he's like, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we set this up, and why don't we push this? And really, so for me, it's, that support network, the people you have around you, the people that listen to you when you want to have a whinge and a moan, and the ones that kind of just help you through that, really. And then they stand with you when you're flying high again, like we are with everything that's happening at CSM with everyone that's involved. It's been really good. So, yeah, I think it shows it's just about the support network, really.
Really puts into perspective mine and Rob's examples there. We're complaining about getting subbed in semi-final and cup final, and Faheem drops the cancer bomb on us. So, but you spot on the support network. I'm living 200 miles away, trying to be a chairman of a football club. it would be impossible to do it without, the 8 or 9 guys that we have on our committee working together. Things like this podcast, an opportunity to just come on and just chat football with people we like and talk about the things that we're doing together, talk about the things that are affecting us day to day, and putting it out there on the table. I love having a chat with Rob in the week.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about football, sometimes it's about his streams, it's about the pod. It gives me something to look forward to at the end of the working day, and that's so important as you go through the week.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to say as well, like Faheem, you've mentioned about how you've got so much support network and stuff like that. One thing I would like to mention, I'm going to put an email address in the description. It should be rob@centricsm.com. The link will definitely be in the bio. If anyone does have any concerns, you can email us. Everything you send in to us is completely anonymous. We will try and help you as much as possible. This is why we have set up this podcast called Just Talk. To be fair, I don't think I've mentioned Just Talk enough, but there will be podcasts where we do touch on this stuff a lot more when we feel we need to address it. Even, it could be stuff personally, it could be even anyone at CSM. If they're more than willing to talk about it, we will talk. And, because the reason we have set up this podcast for the public is to let people know, check on your friends. You are not alone. No matter what you do, no matter what's happening, people are just a click away. We've got the beautiful thing of an internet now. But yeah, that's we're going to wrap it up today, but I just wanted to put that in right at the end just to make sure that everyone was aware, and that's what Just Talk is all about. I'm going to put Anees's Twitter and Faheem's Twitter in the bio and myself. Make sure you go and follow us, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video. So Anees, thank you.
Faheem, thank you, Rob. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers,
and much appreciated. Good to see you again, guys, and speak to you later on in the week.
Yeah,
good night. Thank you.
Cheers fellas. Bye-bye.